Part 1. They summoned for help. The council chamber fell silent as the holographic display showed another world dying. Torvash, a planet of 4 billion souls, had gone dark in less than 6 hours. The Vacrine swarm had arrived at dawn, and by sunset, nothing remained but emptiness. Counselor Thelvar's feathers drooped as he watched the final transmission. A mother holding her child, both screaming as the swarm consumed them. Then static. Then nothing. "That makes 17 worlds in 3 months," said Ambassador Hana quietly. She stood alone at the back of the chamber, the only human allowed in conquered space. The other counselors avoided looking at her. "Our fleets cannot stop them," Thelvar admitted, his voice cracked with despair. "Every ship we send is destroyed. Every weapon we use fails. They adapt too quickly. They consume too fast." The Galactic Concord had ruled this sector of space for 10,000 years. 12 species living in harmony, sharing knowledge and resources. They had no armies, only defense forces. No weapons of war, only tools of protection. They had never needed anything more. Until the Vacrine came. Counselor Vesh, whose crystalline body shimmered with anxiety, spoke next. "We must evacuate the outer colonies. Pull everyone back to the core worlds and fortify." "That means abandoning 60 billion people," another counselor said. "Better than watching them die," Vesh replied. Hana stepped forward. "There is another option." The chamber went quiet. All eyes turned to her. The human. The representative from the forbidden world. Thelvar's feathers ruffled with discomfort. "Ambassador Hana, please. We have discussed this before." "You discussed it and rejected it," Hana said. "That was 3 months and 17 worlds ago. How many more will die before you reconsider?" Earth had been discovered 50 years ago by a conquered exploration vessel. The first contact had been peaceful enough, but the examination that followed had terrified the conquered leadership. Earth was classified as a Class 3 death world, one of the most hostile planets ever documented. High gravity, violent weather, aggressive predators, deadly diseases, and toxic plants covered every continent. And somehow, humans thrived there. The Concord studied humanity from a distance. They watched with horror as humans waged wars over resources, beliefs, and territory. They saw weapons capable of destroying entire continents. They observed a species that had clawed its way to the top of their world's food chain through violence, adaptation, and relentless determination. The Conquered Council voted unanimously to quarantine Earth. Humanity was too dangerous, too aggressive, too warlike to join the peaceful galactic community. Contact was limited to a single ambassador, Hana, who had spent the last 20 years trying to change their minds. "Your people are violent," Counselor Vesh said. "We have seen your history. The wars, the weapons, the destruction. We cannot unleash that upon the galaxy." "The Vacrine are already unleashed upon the galaxy," Hana replied. "They've killed more people in 3 months than humanity has killed in its entire history. What exactly are you protecting by keeping us out?" Thelvar closed his eyes. He was old, even for his long-lived species. He had voted to quarantine Earth decades ago. He had believed it was the right choice. He had thought the Concord's principles mattered more than military might. Now, he was not so sure. "If we contact Earth," he said slowly, "what would they send?" Hana pulled up her personal datapad. She had prepared this presentation countless times, always hoping someone would finally listen. Earth maintains a combined defense force of 300 warships, 50,000 ground troops, and extensive support systems. We have been monitoring your situation since the Vacrine first appeared. Our military command has already prepared response protocols. 300 ships? Counselor Vesh sounded skeptical. We have lost 3,000 ships to the Vacrine. What difference would 300 make? Human ships are different, Hana said. She displayed technical specifications that made several counselors recoil. Our weapons are designed to fight other humans. We build them to counter opponents as clever and adaptable as we are. The Vacrine may be numerous, but they are not strategic. They overwhelm through numbers, not tactics. And human tactics? Thelvar asked. Hana hesitated. This was the part that always made them refuse. Humans fight to win. We use every advantage. We study our enemies and exploit their weaknesses. We do not fight fair. We fight to survive. The chamber erupted in argument. Half the counselors demanded she leave. The other half desperately wanted to hear more. Thelvar raised his wing for silence. Ambassador Hana, would your people even help us? We quarantined your world. We called you dangerous. We refused you membership in the Conquered. Why would Earth risk its soldiers for us? Hana smiled sadly. Because despite everything, we know what it's like to watch our people die while others do nothing. Because we believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Because that's what humans do. We fight monsters. Even if everyone thinks we're monsters too. Another holographic display flickered to life. This time it showed the Vacrine swarm approaching the colony world of Planera. 2 billion people lived there. They had maybe 2 days before the swarm arrived. Counselor Thelvar looked at the display, then at Hana, then at his fellow counselors. He saw fear in their eyes. Not just fear of the Vacrine, but fear of the choice before them. If we do this, he said quietly, everything changes. The Concord will never be the same. The Concord is already gone, Hana said. The question is whether anyone survives to rebuild it. Thelvar stood from his council seat. His wings spread wide, a gesture of formal declaration. I propose we request military assistance from Earth. All those in favor? The vote was not unanimous. 5 counselors refused, but 7 voted yes, including Thelvar. He turned to Hana. Send your message, Ambassador. Tell your people we need help. Tell them we are sorry for how we treated them. Tell them we are dying, and we have nowhere else to turn. Hana nodded and activated her encrypted comlink to Earth. The message was brief, just as she had planned it months ago. This is Ambassador Hana. Galactic Concord requests immediate military assistance against hostile force. Extinction-level threat. Sending coordinates and tactical data. They're dying. Send the fleet. She closed the connection and looked at Thelvar. They'll come. Humanity always answers the call. I pray you are right, Thelvar said. And I pray we do not regret this more than we already regret doing nothing. In the background, the display showed Planera. 2 billion people going about their lives, unaware that a swarm of death approached. Unaware that their salvation would come from the species the galaxy feared most. The message traveled through quantum relays at faster than light speed. It crossed the void between stars in seconds. It reached Earth's military command within 5 minutes, and the Deathworlders began to move. Ymir Part 2. The Deathworlders. Answer. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, watching the stars shift as the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Around her flagship, 299 other warships materialized in perfect formation. The journey from Earth to Valisra had taken 48 hours. The mobilization had taken less than that. All ships report ready status, her communications officer announced. Good, Yuna said. She was a tall woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Open a channel to the Conquered Council. Tell them the Terran Defense Force has arrived. On Valisra's surface, alarms blared across the capital city. The sudden appearance of 300 warships had triggered every defense system they had. Counselor Thelvar rushed to the orbital monitoring station, his heart racing. Unknown vessels, the station commander was shouting. Weapons locked on our position. Energy signatures are... He paused, checking his readings again. Are impossible. No ship should generate that much power. Stand down, Thelvar ordered. Those are the humans. The commander stared at him. All 300 of them? Yes. They said they would send help. I thought maybe 20 ships, perhaps 50 at most. But all of them? Thelvar felt the same shock. Apparently, when humans commit to something, they commit completely. Ambassador Hana's voice came through on the priority channel. Counselor, Admiral Yuna requests permission to land a shuttle. She wants to discuss strategy in person. Granted, Thelvar said. An ambassador? Thank you. 2 hours later, Thelvar met Admiral Yuna in the council chamber. He expected someone aggressive, perhaps arrogant. Instead, Yuna moved with quiet efficiency. She carried herself like someone who had nothing to prove because she had already proven everything. "Thank you for coming," Thelvar began. "Save the gratitude," Una said, not unkindly. "We are not here for thanks. We are here to end a threat. Show me what we are dealing with." Dr. Inho, Earth's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. He had been analyzing Vacrine samples for weeks using data the Conquered had provided. The Vacrine are a hive species with distributed intelligence. Each individual is relatively simple, but together they form a collective consciousness. They evolved on a Class 3 world. Low gravity, abundant resources, stable climate. "A paradise world," Captain Day commented. He commanded the Indomitable under Admiral Una. "They never learned to struggle." "Exactly," Dr. Inho continued. "They expanded because they could, not because they had to. They consume everything because nothing ever taught them restraint. They have no natural predators, no resource scarcity, no environmental pressures. They are evolution's mistake, a species that succeeded too easily." Counselor Vesh spoke up. "We tried everything: plasma weapons, kinetic bombardment, biological agents. Nothing worked. They adapt within hours." Una smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "You tried to stop them. That was your mistake. You cannot negotiate with a swarm. You cannot contain it. You can only destroy it completely." She activated a tactical display. "We have analyzed all your failed engagements. Your fleet spread out to minimize losses. That allows the Vacrine to isolate and destroy you piece by piece. Your weapons are designed to disable, not kill. That gives them time to adapt. Your strategy is defensive, which means they choose when and where to fight." "What would you do differently?" Thelvar asked. "Everything," Una said bluntly. She pulled up the Planera system. "The Vacrine will reach this colony in 36 hours. Instead of evacuating, we will make our stand there. We will concentrate our entire fleet in one location. We will use overwhelming force. And we will introduce them to weapons they have never encountered." Captain Day brought up specifications for human weapons systems. Thelvar felt sick as he read them. Railguns that fired projectiles at a fraction of light speed. Plasma warheads that burned at temperatures exceeding stellar cores. Nuclear weapons, chemical agents, biological weapons, kinetic kill vehicles. "These weapons are horrific," Counselor Vesh whispered. "These weapons work," Una corrected. "We designed them to fight other humans, the smartest, most adaptable, most dangerous species we knew. The Vacrine are strong, but they are not us." Lieutenant Sora entered the chamber. At 23, she was the youngest person in the room and the most decorated fighter pilot in human history. "Admiral, the fighter wings are ready. We have been running simulations using Concord tactical data." "And?" Una asked. "The Vacrine fly in swarm formations. Dense, predictable, aggressive. They have never faced coordinated fighter tactics. With your permission, I would like to demonstrate." Una nodded. Sora activated a holographic battle simulation. The display showed a Vacrine swarm encountering a human fighter wing. What followed made the Concord counselors gasp. The human fighters did not engage directly. Instead, they used the environment. They lured Vacrine ships into asteroid fields and detonated the asteroids. They exploited gravity wells to slingshot missiles at impossible angles. They used their own damaged fighters as decoys and bombs. Every tactic was ruthless. Every move calculated. Every action designed to maximize enemy casualties while minimizing their own. "You fight without honor," one counselor said. "We fight to win," Sora replied simply. "Honor does not feed families. Victory does." Thelvar watched the simulation again. The Vacrine, for all their numbers, were being systematically destroyed, but the cost troubled him. "How many pilots do you lose in these tactics?" "In simulation." "About 30% casualty rate," Sora admitted. "In reality, we expect higher." "That is acceptable to you?" Thelvar could not hide his horror. "That is war," Una said. "The Vacrine have killed billions. If 30% of my pilots die to stop that, then 30% of my pilots die. They know this. They volunteered anyway. That is what it means to be human." The chamber fell silent. The Concord species had lived in peace for so long they had forgotten what real war looked like. Now they were being shown, and it terrified them. Colonel Tay, commander of the ground forces, spoke next. Admiral, what if the Vacrine land troops on Planara? Then you will deploy and eliminate them, Una said. Rules of engagement? Total extermination. No prisoners. No mercy. The Vacrine gave none to Torvash. We will give none to them. Thelvar felt something break inside him. This was what they had summoned. Not saviors, but killers. Efficient, remorseless, professional killers. I know what you are thinking, Una said, looking directly at him. You are wondering if you made a mistake calling us. You are questioning whether we are any better than the Vacrine. Thelvar said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. The difference, Una continued, is that we fight to protect. The Vacrine consume because it is their nature. We kill because we must. When this war ends, we will put down our weapons. The Vacrine would never stop, not until everything was gone. That is the difference between a soldier and a monster. She stood and gestured to her officers. We deploy for Planera in 12 hours. I suggest you evacuate non-essential personnel and prepare for civilian casualties. This will be bloody, but it will be effective. As the humans left the chamber, Captain Day paused at the door. He looked back at the counselors. You should have called us when the Vacrine first appeared. We would have ended this in a week. Every death since then. Every world lost. Every billion killed. That blood is on your hands for waiting. After they were gone, Thelvar slumped in his seat. Counselor Vesh approached him. Did we do the right thing? Vesh asked. Thelvar watched through the window as human warships maneuvered into formation. Each one bristled with weapons. Each one carried soldiers trained for violence. Each one represented humanity's answer to the universe's cruelty. I do not know, Thelvar said honestly, but I know that we are alive to question it. For now, that will have to be enough. Part 3. The Price of Sanctuary. The Vacrine arrived at Planera exactly when Dr. Inho predicted. Millions of bio-ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, in a swarm so dense it blocked out the stars. They had consumed 17 worlds. This would be their 18th. Except this time, someone was waiting. All ships, battle stations, Admiral Una ordered calmly. Fighters launch, Marines to drop pods. Let us show them what a death world breeds. Lieutenant Sora led the first fighter wing into the swarm. Her voice came through the fleet-wide channel, steady despite the chaos around her. Remember your training. They expect us to break. Show them humans do not break. The Vacrine bioships moved to intercept. Millions of organic weapons firing acidic projectiles and bioplasma. The human fighters scattered into pre-planned patterns. What looked like retreat was actually strategy. Sora led her wing toward Planera's moon. The Vacrine followed, swarming after easy prey. At the last second, Sora's fighters dove below the moon's surface while her wingman detonated a payload of kinetic charges. The moon's regolith exploded outward like shrapnel, shredding thousands of Vacrine ships. Target-rich environment, Sora reported. Engaging. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Day watched the battle unfold. Railguns charged. Target the center mass of their formation. Sir, our ships will be in the blast radius, the weapons officer warned. They know, Day said. Fire. The railgun rounds punched through space at relativistic speeds. They hit the Vacrine formation like the fist of an angry god. Bioships exploded. Organic matter vaporized. The entire center of the swarm simply ceased to exist. And the human ships in the blast radius had already moved. They knew the firing pattern. They planned for it. The Vacrine did not. Colonel Tay watched from his drop pod as it fell toward Planera's surface. The Vacrine had landed ground forces in 3 major cities. 2 billion civilians were trapped. All units, listen up, Tay said to his Marines. Rules of engagement are simple. Anything that is not human or Concord species gets eliminated. No hesitation, no mercy. These things ate 17 worlds. Today, they choke on the 18th. The drop pods hit like meteors. Marines poured out in full combat armor, weapons ready. The Vacrine ground forces were massive insectoid creatures, each the size of a transport vehicle, with mandibles that could bite through steel. Private Yejun saw one charge toward a group of Concord civilians. He fired his plasma rifle without thinking. The creature exploded in a spray of boiling ichor. More Vacrine rushed forward. More died. "Keep moving," Colonel Tay shouted. "We hold the line here." The battle in the streets was vicious. The Vacrine had numbers. The humans had training, tactics, and weapons designed by a species that had perfected warfare. Plasma grenades turned narrow alleys into kill zones. Chemical weapons melted Vacrine bioarmor. Flame units burned them alive. Ambassador Jiwan, Hana's deputy, coordinated the civilian evacuation from orbit. She watched the Marines fight and felt sick. "This is slaughter," she whispered. "This is war," Hana replied beside her. "The Vacrine chose to come here. Colonel Tay is making sure they regret it." On the Indomitable, Dr. Inho studied the Vacrine bioships they had destroyed. Interesting. Their organic structure breaks down rapidly when separated from the hive mind. And look at this. Their biology is incredibly vulnerable to Earth-origin microbes. "Explain," Admiral Yuna said. "They evolved in a paradise. No disease, no parasites, no biological competition. Their immune system is almost non-existent." Dr. Inho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I can weaponize this." "Do it," Yuna ordered. "Prepare biological agents for deployment." Counselor Thelvar, observing from a Concord ship at a safe distance, heard this exchange. "You cannot be serious. Biological weapons are banned under Concord law." "Concord law did not save Torvash," General Hyun replied coldly. He was Admiral Yuna's strategic commander. "Your laws are written for peace. We are at war. Different rules apply." "This is genocide," Thelvar protested. "Yes," Hyun agreed. "It is. The Vacrine committed genocide 17 times. Now we commit it once. That is the price you pay for calling Deathworlders. We do not do things halfway." On Planera's surface, the battle turned. The Vacrine, for the first time in their expansion, began to retreat. They had never encountered resistance like this. They had never felt pain, never known fear, never faced an enemy that fought with such coordinated brutality. Colonel Tay pursued them. "No escape? Hunt them down." Private Yejun found himself in a Vacrine nest in the ruins of a city building. Hundreds of eggs lined the walls. He raised his weapon, then hesitated. These were not soldiers. These were unborn. Colonel Tai appeared beside him. "Problem, Private?" "Sir, these are eggs. Non-combatants." Tay looked at the eggs, then at Yejun. "Those eggs will hatch in days. Each one will become a creature that eats sentient beings alive. Each one will go on to breed more. Math is simple, Private. Kill them now, or kill millions later." "Sir, that is an order." Yejun closed his eyes and fired. The eggs burst. He tried not to think about what he was doing. He tried not to feel like a monster. In orbit, Lieutenant Sora's fighter wing had lost 30% of its pilots, but the Vacrine had lost 90% of their bioships. The remaining swarm ships attempted to flee. "All wings, pursue," Sora ordered. "None escape." Her fighters chased the Vacrine across the system. One by one, they eliminated the fleeing ships. It took 6 hours. When it was done, Sora returned to the Indomitable with half her original wing. Admiral Yuna met her in the hangar. "Report." "Mission accomplished, Admiral. Enemy swarm destroyed. Casualties acceptable." Yuna saw the exhaustion in Sora's eyes. "Acceptable to command, Lieutenant. But to you?" Sora's mask slipped for just a moment. "I watched good people die today, ma'am. People I trained with. People I cared about. But they died so 2 billion civilians could live." "Yes, ma'am. It is acceptable." Yuna nodded. "Good answer. Get some rest." This is only the beginning. Ambassador Jiwan opened communications with the Concord Council. "We saved Planara. 2 billion lives preserved. Vacrine ground forces eliminated. Orbital swarm destroyed." "At what cost?" Counselor Vesh asked. 4,000 human casualties, 800 fighters lost, 3 ships damaged. I meant the moral cost. Jiwon was quiet for a moment. We used tactics you find disturbing. We deployed weapons you consider criminal. We killed without hesitation and pursued without mercy. If you want us to apologize for saving lives, you will be disappointed. General Hyun joined the transmission. Let us discuss terms. Earth saved your colony. Now we want our place at the table. Full Concord membership, open borders, a seat on your council, and most importantly, integration of human military doctrine into Concord Defense Forces. You want to change who we are? Thelvar said. We want you to survive, Hyun corrected. You can keep your principles if you want, but understand that your principles will not stop the next threat. Your principles did not stop the Vakreen. We did. You are asking us to become like you, Counselor Vesh said. We are asking you to learn from us, Jiwon said. You do not have to become warriors, but you need to understand them. Because the universe has warriors, and if you cannot defend yourselves, you will always be victims. The Concord Council argued for hours. Some wanted to refuse. Some wanted to accept. Others wanted to discuss alternatives. While they debated, engineer Minji and her construction teams landed on Planara. Within 24 hours, they built weapons platforms around the planet. Within 48 hours, minefields surrounded the system. Within 72 hours, Planera had defenses that would make it nearly impossible to attack. How did you do this so fast? A Concord engineer asked Minji. Practice, Minji said simply. Humans have been fortifying worlds for 200 years. We are very good at it. On the surface, Private Yejun helped evacuate civilians from the destroyed cities. A young Concord child approached him. The child was shaking, traumatized by what they had witnessed. Are you a hero? The child asked. Yejun thought about the eggs he had destroyed, the Vakreen he had killed, the violence he had committed. No, he said honestly. I am just a soldier. But you saved us. Yes? Then what is the difference? Yejun had no answer for that. Part 4. The Hunt begins. 3 weeks after the Battle of Planara, Admiral Yuna stood before the Concord Council with a new proposal. We have defended your worlds. Now we go on the offensive. Counselor Thelvar studied the star charts she presented. Red dots marked Vakreen-occupied systems. There were hundreds of them. You want to attack them directly? I want to hunt them, Yuna corrected. Defense is not enough. Every moment we wait, they grow stronger. They consume more worlds. They breed more warriors. The only way to win this war is to take it to them. Our fleets tried that, Counselor Vesh said. They were destroyed. Your fleets fought fair, Captain Day said. We will not. Admiral Yuna pulled up tactical plans. We have identified 3 major Vakreen hive clusters. Each one contains billions of their bioships and serves as a breeding center. We destroy these. We cripple their ability to expand. How? Thelvar asked. Commander Nari will explain. A woman stepped forward from the shadows. Commander Nari was small, quiet, and utterly terrifying. She ran Earth's Black Operations Division. We infiltrate their territory using stealth ships. We plant weapons inside their hive structures. We eliminate their queen variants. Then we leave and watch them collapse from the inside. That is assassination, a counselor protested. That is war, Nari said simply. The Vakreen have queens that direct swarm behavior. Kill the queens, the swarms become disorganized. Disorganized swarms are easy to destroy. You are talking about going deep into enemy territory, Thelvar said. If you fail, if you are captured, we will not be captured, Nari said. Her voice was ice. And if we fail, we die. That is acceptable. Dr. Inho presented his research next. I have developed a pathogen specific to Vakreen biology. It attacks their neural structures and spreads through their hive-mind connection. One infected Vakreen can kill thousands. Scientist Suho, who had been working with Dr. Inho, added more data. The pathogen is tailored to their specific biology. It will not affect any known Concord species. It is completely safe for everyone except the Vakreen. Safe? Counselor Vesh sounded skeptical. You created a plague. We created a solution, Dr. Inho corrected. Would you prefer we continue fighting them ship by ship, world by world, while billions more die? The council had no answer. Admiral Yuna did not wait for their approval. We launch in 48 hours. You can join us or stay behind. Either way, we are ending this. Commander Nari led the first strike team into Vakrine space. Her stealth ship, the Shadow, slipped past their biosensors using technology the Concord had never seen. Human ships were designed to hide, to deceive, to strike from unexpected angles. Target acquired, Nari reported. Hive Cluster Gamma 7. Estimate 4 million bioships in orbit. Proceed, Admiral Yuna ordered from the Indomitable, which waited at the edge of the system. Nari's team infiltrated the Hive Cluster using powered armor and personal stealth fields. They moved through Vakrine biostructures like ghosts. Every movement was calculated, every step planned. They had trained for this kind of operation for years. Inside the hive, they found the Queen variant. It was massive, the size of a small building, pulsing with bioluminescence as it directed the swarm. Plant the charges, Nari ordered. Her team placed plasma bombs around the Queen chamber. They also released Dr. Inho's pathogen into the ventilation system. The Vakrine did not even notice. They had never encountered stealth tactics. They did not understand the concept of hidden enemies. Nari and her team escaped minutes before the bombs detonated. The Queen variant died instantly. The pathogen began spreading through the hive mind. Within hours, the entire cluster was dying. Mission successful, Nari reported. Returning to fleet. Admiral Yuna smiled. Good. 2 more to go. But the second operation went wrong. Commander Nari approached Hive Cluster Delta 3 with her team. This time, the Vakrine were ready. Somehow they had learned. They had adapted. Ambush! One of Nari's operatives shouted as Vakrine warriors swarmed from hidden chambers. The fight was vicious. Nari's team was the best humanity had, but they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. They fought back to back, weapons firing continuously. Fall back, Nari ordered. Get to the extraction point. 3 of her team did not make it. They were overwhelmed and killed. Nari escaped with the survivors, but barely. They learned from our first attack, she reported to Admiral Yuna. They are evolving their tactics. Then we evolve faster, Yuna said. What do you need? More troops. Direct assault instead of stealth. Yuna nodded. You will have them. The third hive cluster became a full military operation. Admiral Yuna committed 50 ships and 5,000 Marines. Colonel Tay led the ground assault. This is not going to be subtle, Tay told his troops. We are going in hard and fast. Kill everything that moves. Destroy everything that does not. Questions? Private Yejun raised his hand. Sir, what if civilians are present? The Vakrine do not have civilians, Tai said. They are all warriors. They are all the enemy. Every single one. The assault began with orbital bombardment. Human ships rained fire on the hive cluster from above, while drop pods fell like shooting stars. The Vakrine met them with millions of warriors. The battle was apocalyptic. Private Yejun found himself in the middle of a Vakrine breeding chamber. Thousands of warriors poured from the walls. His squad formed a defensive circle and fired until their weapons overheated. When their rifles failed, they switched to plasma grenades. When those ran out, they fought with combat knives. Hold the line, Colonel Tay roared over the chaos. We hold or we die. They held. For 6 hours, they held against impossible odds. When relief forces finally arrived, Yejun's squad had lost half its members. But they had killed thousands of Vakrine and destroyed the breeding chamber. Lieutenant Sora provided air support from her fighter. She saw the carnage below and felt sick. How many have we lost? 1,200 casualties, the tactical officer reported. But we are winning. Winning, Sora repeated bitterly. This is what winning looks like. In orbit, Captain Day prepared for the final phase. His ship had located the hive cluster's core, a massive biostructure that served as the central nervous system for the entire swarm. Admiral, We can destroy the core, Day reported. But we need to get close. Very close. How close? Yuna asked. Point-blank range. We will take heavy damage. Do it. The Indomitable charged into the heart of the hive cluster. Vakrine bioships swarmed it from all sides, tearing at its armor, breaching its hull. Alarms blared. Fires erupted on multiple decks. Crew members died at their stations. But Captain Day did not stop. He drove his ship forward like a spear into the core of the hive. Fire all weapons, he ordered. Every gun on the Indomitable fired at once. Railguns, plasma cannons, missiles, everything. The hive core exploded in a cascade of biomatter and energy. The entire swarm went dark. Without the core, the Vakrine lost all coordination. They became nothing but mindless insects, easily destroyed. Target eliminated, Captain Day reported. His ship was burning, barely functional, but intact. We did it. At what cost? Admiral Yuna asked. 40% casualties aboard the Indomitable. 3 other ships destroyed. Ground forces lost 1,500 Marines. Yuna closed her eyes. Every name would be read at the memorial. Every death would be recorded. But the hive was destroyed. Billions of Vakrine were dead. Send the casualty reports to Earth, she said quietly, and find me the Vakrine homeworld. We are finishing this. Dr. Inho analyzed the data from all 3 hive clusters. I have traced their origin point, the Vakrine Prime System. That is where this species began. Can we destroy it? Yuna asked. Yes, Dr. Inho said, but it will require everything we have. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. This will be the largest military operation in human history. Then we prepare, Yuna said. The Vakrine showed no mercy to 17 worlds. We will show none to them. Counselor Thelvar watched the human fleet gather. 500 ships now, reinforced by Earth's reserves. Thousands of fighters. Tens of thousands of Marines. Weapons that could crack planets. They are going to commit genocide, he said to Ambassador Hana. Yes, Hana agreed. They are. Can you stop them? Would you want me to? Thelvar thought of Torvash, of the billions dead, of the mother and child in the final transmission. No, he admitted. I would not. Saktaras Part 5, Judgment Day. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the Vakrine Prime System, like a storm preparing to break. 500 warships, 10,000 fighters, 50,000 Marines. The largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the planet below. It was beautiful. Lush green continents, clear blue oceans, gentle weather patterns. A paradise world where a nightmare species had been born. All ships report ready, Captain Day announced. Good, Yuna said. She opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Admiral Yuna. Today, we end the Vakrine threat permanently. They have consumed 17 worlds and killed hundreds of billions. They showed no mercy. They gave no quarter. They did not negotiate or retreat. They simply consumed. Today, we show them what it means to face a species that fights back. All ships, advance. The fleet moved forward as one. The Vakrine response was immediate. Their homeworld was protected by millions of bioships, orbital defense platforms made of living tissue, and swarm warriors beyond counting. They threw everything at the human fleet. The battle began. Lieutenant Sora led her fighter squadrons into the teeth of the Vakrine defense. Bioships swarmed around her like angry insects. Her fighters' warning systems screamed constantly. All wings, formation Delta, she ordered. Use the asteroid belt for cover. Her fighters dove into the debris field surrounding the Vakrine homeworld. The enemy followed. Sora waited until they were deep in the asteroids, then gave the order. Detonate. Human engineers had spent weeks placing charges throughout the asteroid belt. Now they exploded in a chain reaction that shattered millions of tons of rock. The debris tore through the Vakrine bioships like bullets. First wave eliminated, Sora reported, proceeding to second objective. But the Vakrine had reserves. More bioships poured from the planet's surface. Hundreds of thousands of them. Sora's squadron fought desperately. One by one, her pilots died. Their final transmissions were always the same. For humanity, for the Concord, for those who cannot fight. When Sora's fighter was finally hit, she did not eject. Instead, she pointed her damaged craft at a Vacrine command ship and accelerated. "This is Lieutenant Sora," she transmitted. "It has been an honor." Her fighter crashed into the command ship at full speed. Both exploded in a ball of fire. Admiral Yuna heard the transmission. She allowed herself 3 seconds of grief. Then she continued the battle. "All ships target the orbital platforms," she ordered. "Destroy them." The human fleet concentrated fire on the living defense platforms. Railguns tore through organic armor. Plasma weapons burned biological tissue. Nuclear weapons vaporized entire sections. But the cost was terrible. The Vacrine fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. They rammed their bioships into human vessels. They boarded and tried to consume the crews. They adapted their tactics with frightening speed. Captain Day's ship took a direct hit. Half the bridge crew died instantly. Day himself was wounded, but he refused medical attention. "Keep firing," he ordered through bloody teeth. "We do not stop until they are gone." On the planet's surface, Colonel Tay led the marine landing. Drop pods fell through a sky filled with fire and death. Half never made it to the ground. Tay's pod crashed into a Vacrine city. He emerged to find a landscape that should not exist. Beautiful gardens, crystalline structures, peaceful plazas. The Vacrine had built paradise for themselves. "Burn it all," Tay ordered. The Marines spread out with flame units and plasma charges. They destroyed everything, every building, every structure, every trace of Vacrine civilization. Private Yejun found himself in a Vacrine spawning ground. Billions of larvae filled massive chambers. They were helpless, barely developed, unable to fight back. He raised his weapon. His hands shook. "I know what you are thinking," Colonel Tay said, appearing beside him. "You are thinking about the morality of this, about whether we are the monsters now." "Yes, sir," Yejun whispered. "Good," Tay said. "That means you are still human. But you are going to do it anyway because those larvae will grow into creatures that consume worlds. You are going to do it because mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. You are going to do it because this is war, and in war, the hardest choices are often the necessary ones." Yejun fired. The spawning chambers burned. In orbit, Dr. Inho prepared the final weapon. The pathogen he had developed was now refined to its deadliest form. It would spread through the Vacrine hive mind like wildfire, killing everything connected to it. "Deploying bioweapon," he reported. Scientist Suho helped launch the delivery system. "May whatever gods exist forgive us for this." "They will not," Dr. Inho said quietly. "But perhaps the people we saved will." The pathogen spread across the Vacrine homeworld. Within hours, the swarm began to die. The hive mind fractured. Individual Vacrine lost all coordination and became nothing but dying animals. But before the end, the Vacrine overmind, the ancient consciousness that had guided the species for millennia, made contact with Admiral Yuna. It spoke directly into her mind. "Please," the overmind begged. "We surrender. We will retreat. We will leave this galaxy. Spare us." Yuna's response was cold. "You showed no mercy to Torvash. You gave no quarter to the 17 worlds you consumed. You did not accept surrender. You only knew consumption. Now you face a species that knows judgment." "We are a species," the overmind cried. "You are committing genocide." "Yes," Yuna agreed. "We are. You started this war by consuming billions. We are ending it by ending you. That is justice." "This is murder." "This is survival," Yuna said. "The universe is cruel. Species that cannot adapt, that cannot defend themselves, that become threats to others, they do not deserve to continue. You are evolution's mistake. We are evolution's answer." "You are monsters," the overmind whispered as it died. "Yes," Yuna said. "We are Deathworlders. This is what we do." Captain Day initiated the final phase. Orbital bombardment. Every ship in the fleet opened fire on the Vacrine homeworld. The planet burned. Commander Nari led teams across the system, hunting down the last Vacrine ships trying to escape. Not one survived. Within 12 hours, the Vacrine species ceased to exist. The human fleet regrouped above the burning world. They had lost 40% of their ships. 20,000 soldiers were dead. Lieutenant Sora was gone. Thousands of others would never return home. But the Vacrine were extinct. Admiral Yuna addressed the fleet one final time. Today, we did something terrible. We committed genocide. We destroyed an entire species. History will judge us for this. Some will call us heroes. Others will call us monsters. Both will be right. But remember this, we did not start this war. The Vacrine consumed 17 worlds before we acted. Every death today prevents billions of deaths tomorrow. That is the burden we carry as Deathworlders. We do what others cannot. We make the hard choices. We pay the price for peace. On Valisra, Counselor Thelvar watched the broadcast. The Galactic Concord had been saved, but at a cost he could barely comprehend. Ambassador Hana stood beside him. "You are wondering if you did the right thing," she said. "Always," Thelvar admitted. "So are we," Hana said. "Every human involved in this war will carry it with them forever. Admiral Yuna will remember every ship lost. Colonel Tay will dream of the spawning chambers. Private Yejun will question his choices every day. That is what makes us human. We do terrible things and then we live with them." "How?" Thelvar asked. "By remembering why we did them," Hana said. "By honoring the dead. By building a better future so their sacrifice means something." The Concord Council met to discuss the aftermath. They voted to grant Earth full membership. They integrated human military doctrine into their defense forces. They opened their borders. They also established the Memorial of 17 Worlds, a monument to every person killed by the Vacrine. And beside it, they built the Memorial of the Fallen Defenders, honoring every human who died protecting the Concord. Admiral Yuna became Supreme Commander of all Concord military forces. She accepted on one condition, that the Concord never forget the cost of being unprepared for war. Colonel Tay retired from active service. He opened a school to train Concord species in combat tactics. His first lesson was always the same. War is not glorious. It is necessary. Learn the difference. Dr. Inho and scientist Suho continued their research, but now focused on medical applications instead of weapons. They could not undo what they had created, but they could try to balance it. Commander Nari disappeared into classified operations. Some said she still hunted threats in the dark corners of the galaxy. Engineer Minji led the reconstruction of the 17 consumed worlds. It would take decades, but she was determined that life would return to those dead planets. Private Yejun stayed in the service. He could not return to civilian life, not after what he had done. Instead, he trained new recruits and made sure they understood the weight of the weapons they carried. Captain Day recovered from his wounds and returned to command. The Indomitable was rebuilt and resumed patrol duties. Ambassador Jiwon became Earth's chief diplomat to the Concord. She worked tirelessly to bridge the cultural gap between humanity and the peaceful species they had saved. 1 year after the war ended, a Concord child approached Private Yejun at the memorial. The child was from Planara, one of the billions saved by human intervention. "Are you a hero?" the child asked. Yejun looked at the names carved into the memorial. Thousands of them, including Lieutenant Sora, whose sacrifice had saved hundreds. "No," he said honestly. "I am just a soldier who did what was necessary." "My teacher says you saved us. Many people saved you. Some of them did not survive." "Then what should I do?" the child asked. Yejun thought carefully before answering. "Live, build, create. Make sure their sacrifice meant something. And if the darkness comes again, be ready to fight it. That is how you honor the dead." The child nodded solemnly and placed a flower at the memorial. Yejun watched the child leave. Around him, the rebuilt Concord thrived. Trade flourished. Art and science advanced. Peaceful species lived without fear. And orbiting above, human warships stood eternal vigil. Counselor Thelvar found Yejun at the memorial later that day. "Do you regret it?" Thelvar asked. "Any of it?" Yejun considered the question. "Every day, but I would do it again." "That is what frightens me about humans," Thelvar said. "You carry such guilt, yet you do not hesitate when action is needed." "That is what makes us Deathworlders," Yejun said. "We do what must be done, and then we live with it. We are not monsters who feel nothing. We are people who feel everything and act anyway." "The galaxy will never be the same," Thelvar said. "No," Yejun agreed, "but it will survive. That is what matters." Above them, the stars shone peacefully. And somewhere in the darkness, human ships patrolled the borders, watching for the next threat. The Deathworlders had brought judgment. Now they brought protection. And the galaxy was safe.